A quick rundown here of what we have going on for warnings at this time. Active warnings north and south of the Quad Cities. North of the Quad Cities, you have an active flood warning right now. That means rivers and streams have jumped their banks. They are causing problems. Water's going into basement. Water's going into some towns in cases. I just had a picture a little while ago of the Charlotte Fire Department. Their driveway, or I should say their parking lot, is completely flooded at this point. Reports out of Jones County that people are sandbagging in some towns. Olin, which is also in Jones County, reports that their drainage ditches are completely full of water, and the water is actually coming out of those drainage ditches.
Meantime, in Davenport, parts of River Drive, they're already underwater this morning. In fact, crews later this morning are expected to begin building a temporary flood barrier along River Drive. But until then, drivers, they're dealing with overflowing sewers and manholes. KWQC's Amber O'Brien, she is live from River Drive this morning. Amber, what's the very latest out there?
Well, Melissa, River Drive is virtually just a river this morning, making it difficult for drivers, especially as they start to head to work. But just take a look at this manhole that is just gushing water here over River Drive. This has been happening for at least 6 hours. Crews have been on scene for about 4 of them trying to guide traffic. But just look at the amount of water that is flowing out of there. And this has really been at that pace for, again, those 6 hours. You can see how much it has puddled. And I would guess to say it's at least 6 inches deep here in the lower lying areas, and a lot of cars. And then really the big problem right now is traffic. We've learned that they've blocked off right around 4 a.m. They blocked off Mississippi Avenue down to McClellan Boulevard, making it difficult for anyone who's trying to get from Davenport to Bettendorf, as well as the opposite direction as well. Now, I want to show you the video from earlier this morning. Vehicles were trying to make their way, again, between the two cities, nearly drowning their cars in the water.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marcia Lenz, and we have special flood coverage on the news at noon. David Nelson will be bringing us an update on road closures and flood emergencies from our flood desk. And Amber O'Brien has been checking on flooded roads and homes throughout the metro area. We're going to join her live in a moment. But first, let's join meteorologist Greg Dutra to see whether the rain is over.
And just about, Marcia. I mean, we are so close to being completely out of the rainfall. Now just a couple of scattered showers out there, but that real heavy rain that we had last night and into this morning, that is now off to our east. It's actually causing the same type of problems that we saw through the overnight and early today off to our east. For Chicago, out towards northern Indiana, they're actually seeing some straight line winds, very gusty winds, and tornado watches are out for much of the East Coast. But for us, we're just in scattered showers here as we head into the afternoon. It'll be hit or miss, but during the overnight last night and through yesterday, we set a new record at both the Quad Cities and Dubuque for daily rainfall at over 2.5 inches for both locations, beating the previous year's amounts by about an inch in both cases. So a significant amount of rain last night, and totals that are up around 3, 4, 5, 6, and even I've seen 7 inches of rain just over the last 24 to 36 hours. We now have flood warnings across the entire area. This morning we were kind of split north and south between a flash flood warning and just a generalized flood warning. Now we have all, at least across the KWQC viewing area, gone over to a flood warning. What does that mean? Well, it means that all the rivers and streams that you see in highlighted areas, at least the prone ones, have jumped their banks. They are causing flooding in both rural areas and also residential areas at this time. Some of those higher totals here, 6¼ inches out in Wellman in Washington County, that by a spotter, almost 6 inches in Industry, which is in McDonough County, and Davenport. The official report for the Quad Cities is at just over 4 inches, but there was a spotter in West Davenport that picked up 4¾ inch of rain. And as you mentioned at the beginning, Marcia, we are just about out of the rainfall. Some scattered showers through the afternoon. By the evening, we're just mostly cloudy, but temperatures are going to take a dive tonight, and we may very well see a couple of snowflakes for our Friday. Of course, that's not our main concern. The Mississippi River is in the extended forecast. We'll talk about that more coming up.
Now let's see what conditions are outside. KWQC's Amber O'Brien has been out since early this morning, and she's seen her fair share of flooding. So where are you right now, Amber? And is the water starting to go down, at least from the roads?
Well, Marcia, we are down in LeClaire Park. We've been from on the Bettendorf side all the way through Davenport, even to the north side of Davenport. And this is really what we're looking at here. This is the worst of it at LeClaire Park. Water obviously flowing in from the river, almost hitting the grandstand there at LeClaire Park. And one thing that they are looking out for is the River Bandit Stadium. They have been sandbagging that and really making sure that the stadium is clear for the past few hours. And we've been out all morning. Obviously, the streets very covered with water. River Drive in parts completely blocked because it is full of water. So that's something to be careful of. And obviously, if you're coming down to parks, the bike paths and things like that, even your Duck Creek have been covered. So a lot of things to look out for, especially at this time when you think that things are getting better because the rain has stopped. You can see water is still actually moving in and the ground very wet. So obviously something to take a look out for when you're coming to and from parks, and when you're driving through town, just driving down Brady Street and up and down Harrison, those roads are slick conditions as well. So a lot of road closures to talk about, but David will be covering those in the next few minutes. Reporting live in Davenport, Amber O'Brien, KWQC, TV6 News.
All right, thanks, Amber. We do have crews spread out across the viewing area, and we're going to give you a broader look at some of the problems on the news tonight. Meanwhile, officials in Rock Island County are anticipating that things will get worse later. They announced emergency plans this morning for when the Rock River rises above flood stage this weekend. It is projected to jump up 4 feet over flood stage in Moline by this weekend, and the fire chief in Carbon, Cliff Barstow, says it's a double whammy, the combination of flash flooding and the rising Rock River that threatens his community.
We're filling ditches, we're filling backyards, we're filling all of the fields that normally wouldn't be filled until the river came up to a certain level.
Right now, the Rock River in Moline is 13.5 feet. Flood stage is 12 feet. The river is projected to reach 16.3 feet by Sunday. That is just a fraction below the highest level ever recorded. Okay, so now let's talk about road closures. There are many due to the flash flooding that is still going on right now, and also river flooding. Earlier this morning, you could see water bubbling out of a manhole cover on River Drive. It was coming out like a fountain. Vehicles were soaked in the splash as they drove on River Drive in Davenport. River Drive is now closed from 3rd Street near downtown to East 6th Street in Bettendorf. City officials are also preparing for a major flood as the Mississippi River rises. It is projected to rise to nearly 4 feet above flood stage. Not a record, but still a problem. So getting through Davenport will be a challenge for those who depend on River Drive. River Drive will essentially be closed from Brady Street to 3rd Street. Westbound traffic shown in the red will continue to 4th Street to Harrison Street, back to River Drive, and eastbound traffic shown in the green will continue to Brady Street to 3rd Street, back to River Drive. Businesses along River Drive will still be accessible. Now, we've got this map and other details of detours on our website. Just go to KWQC.com. Speaking of our website, our crews and many of you have been sending in pictures of flooded streams, floodwaters over roadways, even parks that are flooded, and even some flooded basements. By the way, if you have a flooded basement, you may want to call the utility company to shut the power off to make sure things are safe before you get in that water. Also, thank you for your submissions, for all of these amazing photos. There are just too many photos to show them to you all in this broadcast. So we have compiled a slideshow, and you can find all of these photos, including flooded rivers, on our website at KWQC.com. There are multiple roads closed, flood emergencies and advisories across the viewing area. So let's join David Nelson now, who's been gathering some of the important information for us. David?
What a morning, huh, Marcia? The activity that we've had, all the pictures that we've been seeing, information's been pouring into our newsroom all morning long. Again, we do thank you for all of that. Here is some additional information that you need to know about. Quite a few things. First, we'll start River Drive in Moline. It's closed from 23rd to 55th Street. In other words, the closure starts east of I-74 there and then runs many blocks east of there. This is impacting the Western Illinois University Riverfront campus. Campus itself is dry still, but you'll have to take 34th Street to get there, and some parking lots near the river are closed. Now, the town of Morrison, this is within the last 3 hours or so, Morrison has declared a flood emergency, and they're asking for volunteers to help sandbag at the Morrison Street Garage. More information on that on our website right now, KWQC.com. In Joe Daviess County, several roads are closed, including East Rushtown Road, Bethel Road, and South River Road. Now to Central Illinois. The Illinois State Police say US 67 is closed between Macomb and Industry. Route 41 north of Avon is also closed, and there are a number of schools in that part of the region that are closed for obvious reasons because of flooding. Now, one other closure to mention, Earth Day activities at the Andalusia Slough Recreation Area planned for Saturday have been canceled because of the rising river. The earth is too covered with water for Earth Day activities there, Marcia.
This is TV6 News at 6.
Water gushing like a fountain from manhole covers on River Drive, making a big splash as the vehicles drive through, closing roads here and all over the Quad City area. And flooding inside homes, too. Many homeowners facing wet basements and worse tonight. That tops your news at 6 tonight. Team coverage of the flooding. I'm Paula Sands. Gary Mativier is in Kelowna, where many homeowners are having a rough time tonight, Gary.
They certainly are, Paula. You can see it right behind me here all along this road, these houses. The water is starting to pull back tonight, but this is flash flooding. You know, the Rock River is not very far from these homes, but that is not where this water came from. All this water came from the sky, and it came down in a hurry. We want to also point out that we talk about safety a lot when it comes to floodwaters. We were in this water checking it out a little bit earlier. Again, this is just puddles behind homes. It was close to knee level. It was safe and secure. We made sure to check that out, but make sure to stay away from streams or rivers because we know they are riding very high, and some, in fact, may be coming close to record high. For the latest on what's happening in Moline, let's continue our team coverage now with KWQC Mark Stevens, who has the latest on preparations there. Mark?
Gary, Rock Island County is watching these river levels throughout the county as they continue to rise slowly here. Here in Moline, you can see the Mississippi River gushing up through a storm drain and starting to turn River Drive back into River Canal. Well, as the county says, its main concern, though, is the Rock River at this point, especially in low-lying areas of the county, such as Barstow, because the Rock is forecast to crest near its record set during the 2008 floods. However, the county is not yet ordering any evacuations at this point. It is staging sand and dirt and plastic to construct barriers. The county also has boats at its disposal in case it needs to start rescuing people who get stranded. But the county board chairman says residents need to watch the water levels closely.
We're recommending to residents in those areas to be alert and be aware of the rising waters, and at this point, if they feel the need to move out of the area, that it's entirely up to them at this point in time.
County officials will continue watching this water, gathering emergency officials together again tomorrow morning as they, us, and all the people who live along the water watch it creep ever closer. Reporting live in Moline, Mark Stevens, KWQC TV6 News. Back to you, Gary.
Mark, thank you. What's really interesting here is you see the water here, okay, then you see this berm and trees. On the other side of that is the Rock River. So for now, the area between the rock and between this puddle from flash flooding is the area that's staying dry, and that people will be keeping a very close eye on in the coming days. Also keeping a very close eye on mobile home parks throughout the area. You know, many of them are in low-lying areas that are flood prone. Fran Riley tonight takes us to Lakeview Estate, where they are living up to that name tonight.
This is the main road into the Lakeview Estates Mobile Home Park. And as you can see, it looks like a lake. There are several feet of flood water here.
I come in at midnight and it was dry. So I come out right now and it's like what you see. I'm high and dry where I'm at, but it's just this low place here next to the lake. Just too much rain, I guess. Storms don't keep up or something, I don't know.
From this vantage point, you can see how high the water actually got. There's a fence line underneath that water, and it's starting to rain here again. In Rock Island County, Fran Riley, KWQC, TV6 News.
Fran, thank you. And of course, our crews have been throughout this area, checking in on a lot of people who are doing a lot of work, neighbors helping neighbors tonight, trying to get that water out of the basement. We want to go now to Morrison, where Morgan Otier spent the day following a business dealing with water problems of its own.
Right now, I'm at Schuler Motors in Morrison, Illinois, and you can see I'm stepping in about a half a foot of water, and you can see it's creeping closer and closer to the buildings. There's also sandbags lining the building. But this dealership is used to flooding, so these are the only sandbags you're going to see.
We've tried that a few times, and it just doesn't seem to work real well.
Sandbags aren't the answer for this business because oftentimes the water gets too high. Hundreds more sandbags are needed, and that's not realistic in the short amount of time employees here have to prepare.
We've gotten to the point where when we stock things, put things in, we don't put them 2 feet down. We keep them 2 feet above the floor.
Unfortunately, flooding puts a damper on walk-in business at this car dealership, but employees have plenty to do to keep busy.
Get to the vehicles, we move the stock vehicles out and the customer vehicles out, go through the shop and get as many of the vehicles moved that we can, and the other ones we just prep them, get them up on the hoist.
When the water starts rising, employees here at Schuler Motors are on call, moving all the inventory out of the building that typically floods to higher ground.
Yeah, and a lot of people working hard tonight, as we mentioned, to clean up businesses like that and a lot of homes like here. And as you can see, the wind is really coming up. And with that colder temperatures tonight, we almost have white caps here and just these puddles behind these homes. And it is indeed getting rapidly colder. But the cleanup continues tonight. It's going to be a long night for a lot of people, with then all eyes focusing on what happens next as we get into the weekend with some potential river flooding as well. That's it for here right now. For the latest in the newsroom, let's go back to Paula.
All right, thank you, Gary. Yeah, that water is moving right along there. Let's check out Davenport now, where we have Erica Cervantes joining us live with what they're doing on Perry Street, live along Perry. Erica?
Well, Paula, we're on River Drive and Perry Street, and River Drive is shut down because workers are putting up the barrier. These are the HESCO barriers. The baskets are up, and as you can see, this gentleman here who works for the city, he's filling it with sand. Now, this last basket, it has to be filled manually because the equipment doesn't fit in here. So they're filling all of these with sand, and then they're reinforcing them with sandbags. And the reason why River Drive is shut down, as you can see, is the river is creeping up. We've been out here for about an hour and 20 minutes, and since then, we've actually seen the river actually get a little bit higher. A couple of cars that are parked in that parking lot have made their way out, and we can tell that the water is definitely getting deeper. Now, because of the River Drive closure, the city is asking that you do use Locust Street as the detour. They're also asking people that they do not come down here and peer over the barriers or see what the workers are doing or try to take a look at the water, because it is dangerous down here and you never know what can happen. So they do want people to stay away. Now, on a side note, in the latest update we received from Davenport city leaders, they are saying if your home has been affected by flooding, you can take your stuff to the Scott County landfill. They say to make arrangements for that, all you have to do is call the Public Works Department and they'll work something out so that way you can get rid of flooded things from your basement, things like rugs and other materials that do need to be thrown out. But for now, once again, River Drive is shut down and they are asking that you use Locust Street as a detour. And of course, there are several other streets shut down. They're all on our website, KWQC.com. Live in Davenport, Erica Cervantes, KWQC TV6 News.